Desde el 2022, caudillos y el fútbol nacional recibieron a Juwan Manigo, quien terminaría siendo un jugador especial con tremendo impacto en el emparrillado. No solo logró en la LFA el campeonato invicto o ser pieza fundamental de esa temporada para el equipo, también se colocó como lo mejor de lo mejor en la LFA, creando sucesos históricos no antes vistos. Después de haber sobrevivido a una fusión de ligas aquí en México y tener éxito, esta vez volvió a sobrevivir a la fusión de ligas en Estados Unidos, donde este 30 de marzo tendrá su debut en los Renegades en la UFL portando el número 19. Esta es la plática que tuvimos, donde nos cuenta cuál es su visión del fútbol mexicano y su experiencia en la LFA, además de conocer todo lo que vivió con la incertidumbre de la fusión de las ligas en la pretemporada de la nueva UFL. Quédate a conocer lo que dice el MVP de la temporada 2023 de la LFA, sabiendo que esta entrevista también se grabó ya con semanas de anticipación, por lo cual también notarán un cambio de look de su servidora. Quédense al chismecito y más aquí en Reportera de Bolsillo.
So, well, first of all, I'm super excited to have you here in this space and share a little bit of gossip of everything that had happened in your football life since the moment you came to play here in Mexico, because I think people know already your story, and this is not like this kind of interviews that we are going to start since the beginning. So we're going to address just when you came to play here in Chihuahua, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so what is the thing that you love the most playing here in Mexico?
I would say the fans and the culture there. I mean, when you talk about football and everything, no matter where you're playing at, the fans are what make, the games and everything exciting to be a part of. And when you get a culture behind that you're learning, that you get to see on an everyday basis, from the barbecues to the rodeos and everything else like that, it makes like the atmosphere of living there much better. Like it gives you a whole different perspective on life.
Yeah, we are cool people. Did you expect that kind of level at the beginning, or you were impressed at some point of how we play football here?
I would say it wasn't really much a surprise because everybody who plays football, they're basically played it their whole life, and football is that one mindset that never really changes no matter where you play at. Heart, determination, and the finish. You only got one game once a week, and that one game for 60 minutes is basically give it your all. Um, you don't get a chance to get a do over until the next week, so you basically get to try to pour your whole entire heart into that one game.
Okay. You play in Mexico 2 years with FAM first and then LFA. So I need to ask, what do you think is missing for us to develop in a better way, or what do you think should be our next step to keep growing?
If I was gonna grow, it was kind of hard, like everybody has different experiences from different teams. I would say that would be like the first step. The first step, is kind of like everything on the same page as far as like, okay, well, this team does a good job at the providing transportation. This team does a better job at, providing meals for a team. Just try to make it like all consistent, so everybody, no matter where they go, which team they go to, everybody can just worry about playing football to their best ability. And watching this year's draft, seeing how many people from the colleges are now coming up and playing in the LFA, that's good because now you're getting newer names, younger players, and it's a place for them to make their name. It's a place for them to create their own legacy, and since they're younger, it allows like a fan base to grow around them also.
Okay. So now we are going to talk about last season and your second year playing in Caudillos and also in Mexico. Well, I think the experience with FAM was different, of course, what you live in LFA. The first season, you get these top spots at the semifinals, and you were like really with a challenging first year, but you won the MVP at that point. And then you have this other experience having or entering in this new league that has more years of development, and a lot of players get into the league as well. So you were with friends and with new guys also, and other cities kind of to know. So you end up with this undefeated season as a champion also. So what do you feel was the biggest challenge through all that season, if there was any? And because I know that it happens just like 6 months already, and I think we saw things in a different way right now that when we already end up that season.
But I would just say some things were just different. Nothing was really bad. I mean, the good thing is when you go to something that's been around for a little bit longer, there's more rules and there's so much of a foundation set up. Um, like I said, for like the fam, like from my experience there, it wasn't nothing bad. I didn't, teams went out, still played hard. Stadium and the fans and everything was there. But when you go to a foundation that's been set for a couple of years now, you start to see how the little things of details, really matter. The preseason, reading everything, getting to know about the teams, getting to know about the other players that's in the league, during the games, seeing how in tune the streams and everything were with all the games, different camera angles and the announcers and even the post game
Yeah.
conferences. You see a lot more than what we saw in the first year in the fan, but the one good thing about two leagues coming together is that you're going to put the best talent on the field, and that's one thing to be grateful for is to share the field with some of the best talent that were in Mexico. And when you start looking at that for the league and the league itself, I mean, it just makes everybody just gets a chance to just watch one league and one league only. So it's also a way for it to grow.
Okay. Uh, at what point of the season you start like really believing that you were like actually going undefeated? Because well, you start winning, but at what point do you say like, well, we actually can do this like challenge and get undefeated until the championship game?
I would say a 3 game stretch.
Okay.
When we went to go play the Reyes. I think we had a bye week to come back to play the Dinos and then Monterey.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the best 3 teams in the league at that point, it was basically us 4 teams, and beating them 3 games in a row. Um, that was like the moment, like okay, like we can only beat ourselves. If we make mistakes, if we allow them to give confidence that they can play with us, that's going to affect us. But at this moment in time right now, at that point was like the moment. It was like, okay, we are the best and we just have to keep doing what we're doing.
I might know the answer of this question, but I want to hear you from you. So, what were the teams that really challenged you through this regular season?
I would say the Mexicas for one. They were a very tough team, and that's the one thing about playing this league in Mexico. Like every team is going to be tough. And Mexicas was probably one of the toughest games we had all year. That was definitely tough. Um, Going against Monterey twice is definitely tough. Going against that offense, going into pretty good solid defense, it's always twice. And I would say even the championship game against the Dinos, they made some pretty good adjustments from the first game we played them, and it made it tough for us. So that's one thing too. Like a lot of these teams have really good coaches, and they make adjustments, they make changes, and they put their players in a better position to win.
I know that you didn't visit Galgos Stadium, that it's one of the beautiful stadiums that we have here. But what were the places that you really enjoy playing besides Chihuahua, of course?
I would definitely say Monterey. That was probably one of my favorite.
Sure.
The
Because
Raptors. The
it has college vibes for sure.
the Raptors were a pretty good one. Going into that college, basically playing on top like of a mountain or whatever you want to call it. That was pretty different. And then you gotta love going to the Hefe Stadium. Their people are just so awesome.
Yeah, I know. They're crazy. So you already said Mexicas was like the team that really challenged you. And I want you to get me through these kind of experiences and contrast of the games because you play against Mexicas and it was like a really insane game. I think nobody here in Mexico is going to forget that game because they were really dominating you as a team and of course and as a player. I saw you struggling at the first half, but then crazy things happen and you find a way to win. at the end, and it
Right.
was just so crazy. But then you get the next game, you come to Reyes, the outcome was insanely different. You really dominate the game since, I mean, the first quarter. So take me through that experiences having this struggling game, but then the next weekend you find this other outcome of the situation. How crazy was that?
Well, that's the good thing about sports is like you finally get the face adversity for once. Like, you face a big challenge that you didn't expect to face. And it's just all about how you react. And I guess you can say the Michigas kind of was that starting point of how good of a team we can actually be because at that moment we were losing, but nobody panicked. Like it was,
Mm, just
it
a
was one of
little.
those. Like for a lot of people probably watching, probably was like, what is going on? Like what's happening? Like it happened so quick. It was like, okay, well, what can we do? Oh well, let's play better. We
Sure.
started playing better. We woke up. We got stops on defense. We moved the ball and scored on offense. We just started being ourselves. And at that moment, we realized like, hey, like every game means just as much. And if I would say we probably was looking past that game, worrying about the Reyes game the next week or whatever the game. And at that moment, we just locked in every week and just worried about what game was going to be next.
So it was crazy at the end. You can
Yeah, it
see
was crazy.
the
It was
contrast of
definitely
both
crazy.
games.
It was definitely crazy, but like those are the football games you live for. Like I wouldn't say I would want to do a game like that again, but I mean, those are games that you will always remember.
How many touchdowns did you score against Reyes?
For yeah, four.
Four. Yeah, of course he did. Okay, I think this question might get a little deep, just a little, not so deep. But I think since week 4 or 5 against Reyes, people or teams start noticing your game. As I
Yeah.
said, since I met you, I noticed it since week 1 because that's my job. But people start like, and teams start putting a pin on you because of how you were special at that moment and the things that you did on the field and punt returns and as a receiver. But also, that starts to get a little tougher because you know um, teams try to make strategies to make you complicated some things that special teams, but also as a receiver, you start being covering with 2 men. So what was the mentality that you have to develop or acquire to really keep finding those opportunities to do your things, because you actually did find some windows open to make things that you wanted, but also knowing and recognizing that, well, if you have 2 men covering there, that means that another teammate is going to be open, so that could help your team to move the chains or score.
Yeah. Um, when you look at moments like that and games and situations like that, the only most important thing is as long as you win the game. And the one thing about playing with, other great players and everything else like that is like, of course, they're gonna be able to get their opportunities when they take away a defender just for you. The most important part about that is just the mindset. You go into every game knowing like, okay, well, let's see what they try to do in the beginning. And when other guys like Emmanuel, Marcus, Manny, or Saul starts, you know, doing their great things, it's like, okay, now they gotta play regular defense. Now they actually gotta play like worrying about all four receivers. And then when you get your opportunity, no matter if it's one, maybe two times, just make the most of it. Um, and that's the one thing about football. Like we never really know how many chances you're going to get. So you just got to make the most of it. And if you make the most out of one opportunity, I promise you, it makes everything, mentality and like emotions, everything so much more easier to handle because when you don't waste your opportunities.
Did you think you struggled at some point of this process, or you were like ready to embrace that challenge?
I wouldn't say I struggle. I played on a lot of good teams since I was little. So I could say that's kind of like how the mindset makes it easier from like
Mhm.
middle school, high school, and college. So I mean, it's just one of those things where if as long as you're winning, everybody gets to eat, everybody gets to have a championship ring, and that's the only thing that matters at the scoreboard. Like nobody's gonna remember how many catches or receiving yards you had in one game. They're just gonna know if you won or if you lost.
Well, some people do, but okay. So, how much did you enjoy that championship game? Remembering that you were having some kind of difficulties at the first half, I just really not going to forget when you were really struggling with some crazy things, the music and the environment, and you guys having a little bit of struggles to finding yourself at the first half. And it was just like a low score in that game, but at the end, a win is a win, and I think it was a great show in football. But how much did you enjoy that championship game?
I mean, I enjoyed it a lot just because it was like a low scoring game. Like when you have games like that, every play matters. Every single play matters. And when you talk about like a championship game, everybody knows defenses win championships. So we know our defense, if they stop them, we're just going to win. They know like if their defense could stop us, they were going to win. Because if you think about it, no matter if you put up 3 points or 2 points, if you stop the other team from scoring, you're going to win. And with the difficulties and everything, you got two teams that have been grinding it out all year, facing against injuries all year, bumps and bruises. So I mean, it wasn't the prettiest game, but like I said, it's a championship game. Everybody's fighting. Every play matters. So it's hard to make it very pretty in the end, but we got it done.
Yeah, you of course you did. So before we talk about this XFL, now UFL journey, I want to wrap up the LFA experience and season with you being nominated, not for one, but for four categories. All right, MVP. That was the one that I have the courage to fight for you on social media, and I didn't regret that at all. But also offensive player of the year, wide receiver all pro, and of course punt returner all pro. And also adding that you have like two plays that are nominated as best play of the year. So I mean, you really conquer this league and not only as a champion. How about that?
I'd say that's just like a result of all the hard work, and you do everything possible you can to help your team win. You sacrifice everything you got, time, effort, and body to put your team in the best position to become champions. And it just shows that every chance you go out there to make a play, make an opportunity, you take it. You take it. You just do what you can do what you know you can do, and you take it. And the play style doesn't just happen just because people say I'm a great player, but it's just also the teammates around me. Um, the teammates that I can lean on whenever I feel down, the teammates that can pick me up whenever I'm down, and same for them. And when you're playing with your brothers and you're playing with your family, it makes going so much harder, easier. It just makes it easier. And you want to be your best, you want to perform your best because you don't want to let your family down.
So I know that you have been doing this with Caudillos 2 years in a row, but now it's different. You are embracing a new journey right now. Do you feel a little off seeing your teammates and other players going on with this season here in Mexico? And you, of course, doing other situations, do you feel like a little weird? Do you miss at some point being
Oh
with all
yeah.
these people?
Yeah, I mean, like it makes you like a little emotionally upset just because that is your friends, that are your teammates out there, and they are in a place where you spent 2 years. So I mean, when you see it, it kind of makes you a little sad, and it kind of makes you like, damn,
Melancholic.
yeah, like. But just like any journey, there's another path or something else that happens. But I miss it a lot. I think about it a lot. I have full faith that they're going to go back to back. So I'm happy as long as they're winning and as long as they're champions again. And I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
Okay, I think they are really a really good team this year. So it was like crazy how they prepare themselves to challenge this season without you. So, what do you think is the secret to develop the skills that you show us? I know some of them are like natural skills, but what would you say could be the key to develop those kind of skills?
Just knowing mostly in the off season that there's always a way to get better. There's always a way to improve yourself. Um, and some people think just like, oh, I gotta just get stronger, faster, or quicker, eat better. It's like now, like really taking a step back and looking at the way you play, seeing it like, okay, what do I actually struggle with?
Mhm.
What do I good at, but I can do better at? Once you like fine and tune yourself that way, it starts the process in the off season to become a different breed for yourself. And then once you get to the season, you should just start watching film, watch film, see other people' weaknesses and tendencies. And the more you watch, it's kind of like you're not out there thinking, you're just reacting. And when you
Right.
got your mind and body connected to already pretty much doing things by itself without having to think, it slows the games down. It slows like everything down. And now you're just out there just floating around.
Okay. So you left Chihuahua on regular basis, like you usually do when the season ends, right? But
Yep.
also knowing that you have like this huge opportunity to play with the XFL, with the Renegades, which I thought it was like so crazy, leaving a championship team and arriving to another championship team in that league at that moment. So how do you feel about embracing or start embracing this kind of opportunity when you return to US?
So like it kind of braces like another step. Um, yeah, one of the big things, it is playing football back here in the United States. But to me, this step is more just like of a accomplishment that you gotta like give yourself a pat on the back. Especially
Right.
because you brought the attention from Mexico to get myself here in the United States by my play and everything else like that. So that's one of the big accomplishments I give myself. And playing here in Arlington is probably going to be one of the craziest things I ever did in my life as far as football, just because you're playing in a city that you actually live, and you really don't got to go nowhere for like the first time in life since high school. Like
Mhm.
you go to college, then you go to Mexico. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm like grateful for. And when you have a head coach like Bob Stoops, I mean, he's just a legendary coach, and you can't like you could never imagine going up to be a 26-year-old that Bob Stoops would be your coach. So like
Yeah.
good thing that if I went to Oklahoma at the time he was coaching, maybe, but there's just so many grateful opportunities. There's so many like crazy things that you just have to embrace. But I would say it's probably one of the coolest things.
Super. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your priorities kind of changed in your preparation. So what were the things that you focused on when you can come back to your home and start like getting to embrace the challenge that I know it's like tougher competition there?
So, just kind of like knowing how everything works here. It's a little more like brutal in the beginning for training camps. That coaches and everything want to try to break you. They want to try to like see if you can last, see if you're conditioned, mentally just challenge you in every possible way. And one of the biggest things was just mentally training the mind to never panic, to never worry, and just control what you can control. And that's one of the biggest things that this off season had to work on. Because it's not so much always skill and preparation for the body that helps you succeed. It's all of your mindset. Like you look at anybody who won Super Bowls, won championships, or whatever at the highest level, they always talk about is just the mindset. You just got to have a calm, collective mindset.
Okay, I get it. So let's go to this crazy ride and tell me how do you leave this situation and what were your reactions when you find out that the XFL was going to merge with the UFL?
So it was kind of like it was kind of weird, but like the talks were happening pretty much since the XFL and UFL season, USFL season already,
Mm,
like before their seasons ended. So it was kind of already like a lean towards that. But like the biggest, weirdest thing was like, okay, well, are all the teams going or just some teams going?
yeah.
And talking to friends and everything else like that, like everybody was just like, we just don't know.
Mm,
Nobody really knew like that. That decision making was like way beyond like any team, any coach, any general manager's like pay grade. Like that was like the investors, like all those guys, like were the ones deciding it. And then once it happened, it was kind of like once again, like okay, we're merging, but what's the teams? Like, and it was kind of weird because, of course, they had some reports coming out. Oh, only these four teams. Oh no, only these teams are going to be there. And you know, other players and everybody else is kind of like, well, teams are still signing players. Teams are still claiming players. It was kind of like, well, is it true? Is it not true? And then once January happened and everything just took off, it was like, okay, well, all right, yeah. And then they had roster cuts and had to pick people back up. It was crazy.
I think it was really challenging to see if you conquer that part of preparing yourself mentally with what the things that you can control.
Yeah, that was like the biggest. Like, if things gonna happen, it's gonna happen. But like, I wanted to make sure before I did anything else, like return back to Chihuahua, return or anything. Like, I just wanted to make sure that, like let me make the right decision. Like, let me
Right.
just make the right decision. Let me just wait it out, calm down, relax. And the Renegades were pretty cool about the whole process. They basically told me like everything after a while, like keeping me informed of how things were going to go. And that's one different my team was doing from other teams. So
Okay.
I'm grateful for that.
Well, I think that's important. Always be clear and transparent with the things that you are going through, right?
Right.
So now that I think that I already tell you that, but now that we actually know that you survived this first part of the merge, how do you feel that you have witnessed two merge of two professional leagues in different countries? First, FAM and LFA. That it's not like a merge, but because we add up just three teams, but it felt like that. And
Yeah.
I think that you live that differently because well, in Caudillos and Chihuahua, they already know you because you play already there and you were iconic, like iconic Sonic. But here or in the XFL or UFL or whatever, they don't really know you yet, but it seems that they really believe in you. So, how did you feel about these experiences that you actually can write it down on a book someday?
So like like the Survive Two merges is crazy to think about it now because I didn't really put two and two together until now. But yes, that's pretty right. But like I said, like the one thing about this UFL now is kind of like about giving people like me a chance. Somebody who's like very talented who just got like unlucky with COVID, things like that, those
Yeah.
situations, stuff like that. So because they believe in me, because being in Mexico for 2 years or just playing football in 2 years in general, doing the things I did consistently, back to back games, back to back seasons, it kind of makes them easier to trust because it's like, okay, this is who this guy is. He'll be with our quarterback, Luis Perez, before we start training camp. And, his expectations me is going to be like, hey, do exactly that. Do
Mhm.
exactly what you did the past. You just keep doing that. So I mean, it's not a lot of pressure. There's no stress because it's just like just do what you've been doing. You don't have to change nothing. You don't have to worry about, oh, they want me to be a different player. Now they just want me to be who I am.
Yes, of course. And how about you playing with a Mexican quarterback?
I think that would be a lot more attention than what people might think. I think it might actually create something. I think so, but I think that'd be pretty cool.
So tell me, what are the expectations of this new chapter in your life? What are you like visualizing of accomplish?
To win football games, become a champion, and do anything I can to help this team win. Like I said, it's like another step in the right path. I mean, um, something like this, you become like successful in this season. The next door is pretty much the NFL, and my next step, I guess, is to try to get my foot through that door, and that just comes with taking one step at a time. I can never look too far in the future. Just got to worry about what's happening now. And the more that, I focus on the now, the later will come. It will come. But just get ready for training camp, to have that same mindset I had for like the past 2 seasons in Chihuahua. And that's just pretty much it. And just enjoy it. Just take time to enjoy it.
Okay. So I want you to ask, what is your biggest dream? What's the thing that Juwan Manigo dreams of?
Oof. Well, I guess you can say like I love huskies. I always wanted to breed huskies. That's one of my biggest ones. But honestly, just be a champion. Just keep winning. Just keep
Mm,
being a champion. I guess you could say my biggest dream is to walk away from football peacefully whenever I want to, and not when my body fails to. That's honestly the biggest thing because after that point in life, I know that I can easily move on to whatever the next step in life would be, whether it be a job, whether it be coaching or anything. But just to realistically end football peacefully when I want to, and not when my body wants to.
right. So before, well, when we were planning this interview, I warned you that I was going to get a little deeper in one question. So it's the turn to ask you that. So, what was the thing that keeps you doing those things, and that it's not just like a motivation? I think it's a little bit deeper there, because you've been struggling a little, some challenges, but you keep looking and working to get the things that you want. So what is it? What's the thing that keeps you like this fire inside you?
I think one of the biggest things is, is to never get too complacent. And what I mean by that is like, things can be going good, um, but things can always be going better. You can always be on that straight up mountain of making things better. And for me, that started at a very young age. No matter what it was just always that competitive spirit like inside my chest. Even was playing Uno growing up, racing food bus or whatever it was. It was just
Right.
that. It was just that factor that I can accomplish more if I put myself in a better position to allow myself to accomplish more. How many people are playing football now since I grew up with or went to high school with? It's pretty much zero. But for me, I always had one goal, and that was like to play professional sports. Um, and now getting an opportunity with this league, that's still part of my goal to play professional sports. And for me, the drive, like you said, is not just motivation. It's not just saying like, let me get out of bed and let me go run or let me do this. It just makes me feel complete. It makes me feel at peace. That's my way of life. And that's why I say my biggest dream is to walk away from football peacefully when I want to,
Mhm.
because you're training yourself since a kid to be football school, football something, football work now, and that kind of like cycles together in your life, and now it's like repetition. Like everything is just repping in your head. Like, okay, if I don't train today, everything feels off. If
Right.
I don't go to work today after training, everything feels off. So I mean, it kind of like balances life. It kind of like helps each other, and having one without the other just really doesn't make me seem like the person who I was supposed to grow up as.
As a complete human, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how can you describe yourself, knowing that all these stories or all the background that you have? How can you describe Juwan Manigo?
I guess you can say like this is like the person that like can easily have people follow. That's what I mean by that. Is like just a natural born leader. Like if you're gonna want to accomplish something, beat the odds or chase your dreams, like I guess you could say that's that person. And, I have friends that like tell me that they're thankful for me in so many ways. I showed them so many different things in life that like I didn't even have to explain. They just witnessed it and saw it. And the fact that they witnessed and saw it, it changed like their whole life because now they're like, now it makes all sense of why you're in the position you are.
Okay. And I really want to thank you for letting me be part of this, and getting you to know closer. Um, I really appreciate that, and I really enjoy our time to time that we have to share some football talks and everything. So I really want to say thank you for that. And well, I think that's all I want to say. And keep doing your things, and I hope, and I really think that at some point of our lives, you're going to say to me that you really accomplished the things that you wanted, even though the path was not what you expected since the beginning. So you really truly deserve everything that is going on with you because you keep fighting for your dreams. So I hope this next journey, it's like the beginning of a crazy sort of things that are coming up to you in the future.
Oh, thank you. About to have me cry. About to have-
But I really want to thank you for not letting me down with this interview, even though I push you and I stuck you for like, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks in a row. But I really appreciate you giving me your time and sharing once more another talk of football and life.
Yeah, no problem. Always, always appreciate you for having me.